So glad you guys could join us here for another Talk It Over. Today with me, we have Dave and my wife, Leanne. Looking forward to getting into a good conversation today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Happy you guys could join me.
Good to be
Continuing in the series, He Promises, which so far has been, in my opinion, been really good. Really diving deeper into the things that God does promise. Really enjoying that. But before we dive too deep into that, how are your weeks? Catch up here a little bit. How things been going?
Oh.
Anything new and exciting or different or, anything like that? Yeah.
Actually, the only thing different, because it's been kind of in the regular routine. You know how you have all the holidays and it throws you out of routine.
Yep.
And every once in a while you have that, this was like a routine week. It's been a while. So that was nice to have. And then just getting ready for Nathan to come back home.
Yeah, I guess that's coming in very soon.
A couple of weeks.
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
He's been away for almost 4 months. So. Yeah.
That'll be exciting.
He's going to come back a changed man.
Yes, he is. Actually, you have no idea. He's been experimenting all sorts of new foods and all this other stuff while he's down there. So it'll be fun.
That's good.
But he's going home to a changed
house. Yes, that's right. All the painting and all that has changed. And he'll come in and what did you do to my house?
What did you do? Whose house is this?
But he didn't paint his room.
We didn't.
So he can still go to that.
Yes.
That's his safe space. That's his safe space.
I gotta tell him that. That's your safe space. That's good.
Oh, how about for you? I know for us it'll be fairly similar, but how was your week?
It was a recovery week. I got sick last weekend. And so this week was just trying to feel better. And then with the eclipse, kind of threw things off a little bit with the routine. So that our son Emmett was home instead of at school for the eclipse day. And then they had a PD day on Wednesday. And trying to coordinate work around that is just a bit chaotic, but we made it through.
You went out to watch the eclipse, right?
We did,
Yeah, we did too.
Yeah.
John got us all in the backyard and we watched. Yeah. Did you take a break from work? Did you guys?
I kind of popped in and out. I started when it was kind of supposed to start, so I saw it in stages as I was working. So I didn't sit and watch the whole thing happen, but I did get to see it. Yeah. I did get to see it at the point where there was just a little sliver that was just not completely covered. Yeah. But it was neat.
In the path of totality.
Do you have the special glasses, or did you actually get the welding helmet on?
No. We had special glasses. I brought a couple sets for the other guys at work too, so we all took a little bit of little time just to see it, because again, it's one of those things you don't see very often. Yeah. So when you do get an opportunity where we're in the path of almost a complete eclipse, it's kind of neat to see. I've seen partial eclipses, but almost the whole thing is really kind of neat. So. Yeah, it becomes
like twilight at midday.
Yeah. So it's an eerie feeling. It's a little eerie feeling. Yeah. It was a good experience.
It was fun.
Yeah, it's been a fairly up and down week, a little bit out of routine, with again just the days off and trying to recover from you're not feeling well, Emmett's feeling well, lots of energy. I'm still kind of tired, trying to manage that, and then keep things, getting dinner and other things ready and stuff through the weekend and the day while she's still recovering. So just made it for just a busy kind of 5 days there. But
it's a lot more work when you're out of routine, isn't it?
It is. It seems like it's more work.
Well, you have to think about more, and then you get almost like a decision fatigue where you're like, I don't have to think about this anymore.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to do like some of those guys do, where it's like you wear the same clothes every day. Like Steve Jobs, right? I got a black turtleneck and jeans. It's all I wear I don't have to decide anything. I don't decide food. Yeah. I have the same thing to eat every meal.
As soon as you said that, I went Mr. Bean. I don't know why I went Mr. Bean, but the little the black pants, the little brown blazer, that's funny. That's funny, but I guess if that's all you have, it's a very simple decision. This is what I'm wearing.
This is it.
Yeah. No, everything else has been pretty good. The weather's getting better, which of course is nice. We've had a little bit more mild weather, and it looks like it's going to continue. So that's
sunny,
that's
double digits.
Yeah, so we're getting there. Yeah, awesome. I don't know what that looks like for you guys, but please let us know in the comments what things have been going on, things, anything new and exciting, or maybe it's just been a very routine week, something that's just got back to the regular routine out of, holidays and, all the jumble of things that can throw a wrench into those weeks. But please let us know. He Promises. Continuing our series this week, we are talking about you're not alone in the struggle. And again, talking about God being there with you while you're going through the hard stuff. and that he is always there. He doesn't abandon you in those moments.
Yeah.
So our scripture comes from Matthew 28:18-20. Then Jesus came to them and said, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age." Very, very strong end of the statements. Always with you till the end of age. So again, doesn't leave us, is always there with us, which again is a great part of the yoke, right? Helps to yoke with you in those difficult moments, is always there with you, helping you get through those moments.
Right.
I always kind of go back to that when I think God's with me. It's the yoke, that I don't have to burden that myself, right? So was there a point this week where you experienced God? Something that kind of stood out to you?
Well, actually, we were talking about the eclipse and just that idea of how God designed it so that the size of the sun, moon, and earth and the distance they are from each other is perfectly set up.
That's true.
So you could actually have an eclipse.
Yeah.
Because that's such a unique thing. And I think even in secular circles, they talk about how crazy it is that it just so happens it lines up to cover the sun perfectly. Yeah. And we know, obviously, God created it that way, but that much thought goes into everything God does. Like even for that moment, he lined it all up perfectly so we could have that on a bit of a cycle. So for me, that's just an experience of God and the marvel of his creation and his thumbprint on everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess I didn't look at it quite that way, but yeah, everything's perfect sizing and distances away to make it all completely have that happen.
Yeah.
That's it. I like that. I like that.
I think for me, like this week's been, I think I'm going just through a season of different tough stuff happening and different tough diagnoses that we're still trying to understand and juggle with our son. And so this past week has just been a lot of, I just need to slow down and actually listen to God's voice and to what he says about me and who our family is, rather than just assuming life sucks, therefore he's gone, because that's where my brain goes. And I know that that's my feelings and my feelings lie. And so I've just been working on just listening for God and being really still and just slowing down. And so I pulled out a devotion that I'd done a little while ago, and I need to go through it again. It's a 50-day morning and evening devotional by Lisa Turkhurst. And talking about how, like, Jesus is with you through the struggle, which is exactly what we're going through with this message. And it's been such a good reminder, and just to be slower and to really just connect and listen to who God says I am.
I love that you recognize that. This is the season I'm in, and this is what I need to do in response. It's like you've learned that, I guess, through experience.
Yes.
This is healthy for me.
Yeah. Because, I've gone through these seasons in the past where it hasn't been a healthy experience. And I'll turn to things like binge watching TV or doing things that are hanging out with certain people that aren't helpful for me. And I don't find true fulfillment from that. And so, it's not something that it comes naturally. I have to be very intentional with it to really connect with God, but it's been worth it.
But I think that's so wise, because I think we all have those moments and we all have learned unhealthy responses.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right. And to get to that place where it's like, oh, I know what's happening here, and this is the response I need to give, and to choose that. That's pretty impressive.
For me this week, I don't know. We've headed into the chaotic season at work, tires and then just everything else. And then for some reason,
I need to get my car in.
For some reason, it always seems to end up in these seasons of a couple months that random vehicles show up, get dropped off with no appointment, no call, no message. It sits in the parking lot for 3 hours before we even get a call, and we have no idea whose car it is. And it just seems to happen that they just keep piling on, and the stress level, I guess, at work tends to increase just because of the demand. And for me this week, it's just been a lot of it's like God's telling me it's okay. Just don't, you don't have to be stressed out. Just do what you can do. You don't have to try to overexert yourself to get to this point to try. Do what you can. And I'm finding this week I'd say maybe you can agree. I feel like I've come home less stressed throughout the week in these seasons. Yeah. When this happens, because I know I can get quite stressed with the stress level. It just it starts getting stressful and it just kind of radiates. It's a radiating feeling. And yeah, just this week, it was just kind of like, it's okay. Just do what you can. And that's going to be enough, and that'll be fine. You don't have to overexert yourself. You don't have to take on the stress of the atmosphere. It's okay, right? And so that's just what I've definitely been experiencing this week, and probably even some of last week, and just trying to continue to listen to that and just focus on that as what I need to hear, not just what's around me. So that's been really, really good this week. And then with Emmett's appointments, again, I know I touched on this last week about meeting new specialists, but just that coming into effect, and then the orthodontist stuff for his teeth and getting scans, and just having all these doctors line up in a very specific order on what we're doing, and having them all on board with trying to make his quality of life better, I think has been a big calming point for me, just knowing that this team is being assembled, not because I assembled it, but God's put these people together that really do care and want the best for him. And seeing that come out in the conversations and the directions they would like to go, and really being on board with what we feel is a good direction. So it's been good to hear that and know that. And I know that it's not us. And I know God's been the big part of that movement with that.
And it's humbling just being a part of that experience. And recently God has kind of changed some of the specialists that we have on the team. But when we went from good, there was nothing wrong with them, but we went from good to better. Or I don't know. It just feels like we just fit in with them. They are listening well to us. We're listening well to them. I don't know, something magical just happens about it. And the only way we can explain it is just thank you, God. It's
one of those things, I know we talk about it, that you have to give up, give the good things for the better things. And sometimes leaving those good doctors that we've known and we've grown a relationship, sometimes I know for me is like scary. Okay, moving everything to people we don't know, don't know Emmett, don't know this, but taking that step and being, okay, God, if you're moving these people in place, let's take that step. And then finding out how on board they are, and just it's different. But we have to let go of what was good and comfortable for something that's going to be better for him. It is a bit scary, but it's been really good. It certainly has been really, really good.
Well, it's interesting because in the message that we heard, he talked about seeing God show up in miraculous ways. And we were talking about we can minimize it. Make it seem like, oh, we don't know how it happened, but something happened. Or you can actually go, wow, the circumstances and how God brought that all around is amazing. And so we've actually gone with better people helping us, and a better team in terms of fit and how everything's going together. And you can't expect that.
No.
It doesn't often work that way, where you actually go from here to, wow, this is even a better fit.
This is better.
Because a lot of times people's experience is it's the unknown, and this is not good, and I'm looking all over again, and maybe I shouldn't have left.
Feeling stuck with a team that isn't able to listen to you and don't know where else to turn, because we've had those experiences as well.
We've had conversations with people that have had that. They're like, I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go, but I need something, so I'm just going to stay here, right? So it's interesting try not to minimize that, but then recognizing that no, God's the one that's putting this together. It's got nothing to do with us. God's putting this together to make this the right path for our son.
That's good.
Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about, the difficult experiences. How can those grow someone's faith, those difficult experiences? And I know he talked about that in the message about those difficult moments as tends to where we do grow the most. So what does that look like? How do you think that affects how you can grow your faith?
Well, I think those different situations and challenges in life, it's an opportunity. We can either grow bitter or we can grow better. So it's so easy in the moment just to be like, you know what? I'm offended. I'm hurt. I'm frustrated. I am all of these awful feelings. And so that's it. I'll write them off, or I'll end up, without noticing it, you end up spiraling down this hill of bad decision after bad decision after bad decision and getting stuck. And so you can go down that path, or you have the opportunity to be like, okay, you know what? I have all of these awful feelings and this really sucks. And there are times where, like this past week, I was noticing, I was like, oh shoot, I'm starting to go down that hill. I don't want to go down that hill. So I'm going to choose to actually do what I know is actually helpful for me. And these things like reading the Bible, connecting with my life group, attending church, connecting with other believers, these things that are actually going to build me up and build my faith and help me to become closer to God. And it's when we're going through really tough stuff, like when Emmett's in the hospital, something that I started doing when he was in the NICU was leaving the hospital to be like, okay, where did I see God today? And there were times where the doctors would come in and tell us, okay, you know what, his kidneys aren't working right. We're going to need to start dialysis in a few days. And knowing the gravity of those statements and just feeling a huge level of hopelessness. But then when I leave the hospital and think, okay, you know what, that absolutely sucks. And I'm not diminishing that by any means. But God was with me, so where was he today? And there were times where I could see, okay, it was in a knowing smile. It was in something a nurse said to me. It was in, okay, you know what, blood work sucks, but there was this one level of his blood that actually got better. Or it was a friend checking in with me, a phone call. God is with you through these really tough, challenging things. We just have to be willing and open to see them. And once you're willing and open to see them, and then you can learn to actually trust. But it takes time and effort, and it's not something that just snaps a finger and all of a sudden, oh, you're amazing. Like it takes a long time.
It has to be a really bad circumstance for you to get there to make that choice.
Yeah.
Because as Sam was talking about, in the regular tranquil stuff, I'm not desperate to draw near for God. I'm not at the bitter, better choice.
Right.
Where I can be like, God, I'm going to lean into you. I'm going to look for you. I'm going to rely on you. And I know gone through lots of hurts with betrayals and heartbreak and all kinds of terrible stuff in life. And the times where I've turned to God and been like, I need to lean into you more. My faith has grown. I'm at a different level in terms of my relationship with him. And then God brings me through it. And now I have a story. And that's kind of what you're saying, right? I have a story of I trusted God through that, and look at how good this is, what God has done. Even if the result wasn't necessarily good in the circumstance. If I still saw God in it and God loved me and brought me through it, I can celebrate that. Even if it wasn't my plan. Right? Which is kind of what you have to let go of.
I'm going to love you and celebrate you and worship you regardless of the results. Because
he's with me and he brings me through and he strengthens me, and I'm thankful for that.
When Pastor Sam was talking about that, where in those tranquil moments you tend to not draw close, but that's really where you need to be drawing close. Because if you start drawing close in those moments where things are good or calm, when you end up in that difficult moment, you've already got this turning to him already. That habit before it gets bad. So when it does get bad, you're in this automatic, I just turn to God. I turn to God, right? You're not like, okay, what do I do? Like, this is difficult. What do I do now?
That's a good point.
And so it can be difficult. And I've certainly been there where, it's been hard to, when things are going well, it's hard to lean in, or it just feels awkward to lean in. I don't know. that's the best way to describe it.
The need to lean in.
It just, the need, maybe it just doesn't seem to be as great, even though it needs to be as great to lean in, to build that relationship, to build that up. It seems to be a less of a need until it gets hard.
So when it gets hard, you're used to
just leaning.
This is how I lean into God. This is how I get close to Him.
Yeah.
So I've got the habit.
We've already established that relationship with God.
Yeah.
It's not trying to, oh my, what do I do? This is awful. It's bitter or better. I don't know what to do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then trying to navigate, well, where is God? Because how did it get so bad? Why did I get here?
That's right.
You can get into that mindset of where did He go?
Because I don't understand.
I don't understand what's happening, right? And I think that's where building that relationship ahead of time, before those big moments, really can help you to turn to God much sooner or much earlier before it gets, really bad. Or in that really bad moment, God's going to help you out of it, right? So I think that's a big piece to that. Yeah. But those difficult moments certainly grow us. And I know our journey has been that. We've experienced those difficult moments and we've had to grow. We haven't had the opportunity to not grow, because we were at a very end of there's not much to do.
Nowhere else to go.
We have nowhere else to go. We have to go in a direction. It's either going to completely break us apart or it's going to grow us stronger.
Yeah.
And through that, our relationship has gotten stronger. Yeah. It certainly, there was difficult patches in there, just because, again, it's a whole different dynamic as you're not seeing each other regularly. Your communication is different. It is difficult, but being able to turn to God and rely on Him in those moments helped to grow that. It was kind of like, tape keeping us stuck so we wouldn't drift apart in those difficult moments. And at the end of it, we can take that tape off and we're together, we're stronger, we're better than we were before.
Yep.
So I think the difficult can be that moment, but you have to have that perspective that God's got this. He's going to help you, and just keep leaning in.
Oh, and Sam did such a good job with that, really unpacking the scriptures that Jesus is with you.
Yes.
Like He is there and He will see you through. He's already promised that. So if we don't think He's going to see us through, then we're really doubting Him, and where is our faith? Right? And I kind of saw that interaction with the disciples in a new way. Yeah. It's like, I told you we were going to get there.
Yeah.
So why were you so worried?
Yeah.
You should have known to trust me.
Yeah.
And that's right. Good words.
It is. And I think about it when he was describing the boat, waves almost sinking the boat, right? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Comes up. Like it's that, right? It's that moment of, you see God as the human side of Him, that He's exhausted.
Right.
Right. But then He comes up and you can see that, no, He is God and He can stop everything, right? It's an interesting experience, and again, it's one of those things I didn't look at quite that way. Yeah. But just an interesting experience that, I said we're going to get there. It's not a let's go, as he said, let's go out and die. It wasn't like no, we're going to get across. We're going to get there, right? So it was an interesting way, again, and take on and a view on that scripture, that part of what they were doing, that I haven't really looked at it quite that way on it.
And it's almost like we start to think of God like we do other people. Like, just because you said we were going to get there, doesn't always happen that way. I've learned in life, right? It doesn't always happen that way. And God's like, no, if I told you that, it's going to happen. We're going to get there. It just may not be the way you thought.
Yeah.
There's a storm in between.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was an excellent message today. Certainly really enjoyed it. I certainly recommend you guys, if you haven't watched it, do go. It is an excellent message. And again, great way to, dive into this is to dive into these questions with a life group. You two friends can start one and just dive much deeper into what questions we have, because it brings more of it alive, and you get much different perspective, and it really can help you look at the scripture and what they were discussing in a very different way. But of course, time flies, and we, of course, are at the end here. But I'm so glad you guys could join us, and we, of course, would love to have you back again next week. We, of course, want to thank the tech team behind us, making this, of course, all available for you. And, of course, we want to remember, whoever finds God finds life.